So, opening a new notebook today, and that is always an exciting and scary time to me because I'm afraid that the first page is going to be awful and I will curse the book. Not really, but I always want my first page to look good, and it probably won't. So, here's to opening the new book. The last few weeks of work have left me dead tired, and I am running on prompts right now. I'm behind by a week. I didn't put up videos for a week, and I'm running on prompts. My prompt for today is draw myself as an eldritch creature. It's been a minute since I drew an eldritch creature. Well, I guess maybe winging it could be considered an eldritch creature. I don't know. But I don't have a ton of ideas for this, but I'll figure it out. My first thought was sort of a Cthulhu thing, but with hands instead of tentacles. And ultimately I end up not doing that. I used to draw myself with a snail shell on my head as well, which is where that came from. I end up not using this design at all. I go to something completely different. At the end of the day, I ended up just making kind of an eldritch thing. It wasn't really a representation of me. When I was doing this drawing, I was attempting to do more of a representation of me, but at the end I just had not that many ideas for it that didn't seem teenage and angsty. Because I have bipolar, and as much as I've been working, I haven't been sleeping, and I've been really thrown off, and I've been feeling a little depressed, so everything's been a little teenage and angsty. This is the design I end up using. It's the mock-up of the design. I do the actual finished image on the next page, but it's more humanoid, which is fine, and I kind of started humanoid because I was like, I'm supposed to be doing me, right? But then I just kind of went like with whatever felt interesting at the time, not anything that felt representational of me particularly. There were a few attempts. I really love marine life, so I stuck a crab claw on there, but that's not much. And I am a very visual person, so I stuck a ton of eyes on there, but the crab claw is less of a standard eldritch motif, but the eyes totally are. These are the two mock-ups I did. They're fine. I don't end up loving this piece, and I don't like the colors I picked for it. But I did it, and that's what matters. So, here we go. I begin with the cleaned up sketch. It's just this eyeball to start with that's on fire or has fire behind it. I do more eyeballs, and I just do eyeballs instead of, like, in the original image, they had lids and stuff, but I just did eyeballs in this. I added an eyeball to the sternum, and I made the tongue clearer, I hope. I made the thumb and forefinger into its own separate tentacle, which was in the original sketch. I just liked the idea of it, I don't know. And then I did the crab claw again. I don't think it looks as good, actually, in this version as it did in the mock-up. The legs and hips are not attached to the abdomen because I didn't want them to be. I had a motif of random floaty shit going on already. I figured I'd go with it. I was going to add plants, but I decided not to. I knew I was going to do poorly on the coloring of this, and I didn't need to add any more difficulties for myself. What I color this with is acrylic paint markers. I'm not terribly good with them, but I'm even worse with acrylic paint straight on a brush, so I wanted to try it with the markers first so I could get used to sort of the feel of acrylic paint and how it dries and stuff before I took a paintbrush to it, because I've used acrylic paint with a brush before and I'm very bad at it, so I wanted to sort of get used to the medium before I went all in on it. I started with the eyes and I started with white, which probably wasn't correct. It feels right because your eyes look white, but really they are kind of pink because blood is in them. And then I went with the thighs, and I end up liking the color I have here more than the one I end up with, and that frustrates the hell out of me. But looking back after I had finished it and I was editing, I was like, I quite like what I end up with. Not quite yet. Once I get this red down and kind of mixed in with the pink, I end up liking that quite a lot. I end up with a much more magenta thing going on at the end, which I really don't like, but like this version of the thighs I like. Then I go in and do the ribs and sternum, and I do blend these out a little bit. I put lungs in there because I am missing a part of one of my lungs, so it was one of those nods to myself. There are very few nods to myself in this piece, but the lungs were kind of one of them. I did the eyes in different shades of blue, just random different shades, because I didn't want them all to be the same, and also because I didn't want to use multiple like green and purple and whatever. It just felt right to do them all in blue. It seemed like I was gonna end up with too many colors, and I did. So keeping them all in blue was the right move. I still end up using too many colors somehow, despite the fact that I knew I was gonna do that. The tongue, I don't think when I color it sticks out enough from the abdomen. I think it's just a little too close in color and it doesn't have enough like shading to it. This whole thing doesn't have enough proper shading to it. It's not, I didn't do a good job on this. I'm not happy with it. I didn't have a ton of time and I feel kind of crap. I'll be honest with you. I feel kind of crap. I'm doing what I can. That magenta is a beautiful color. It absolutely should not have gone right there. This is where I screw it up. Really screw it up. Because I was like, I guess I'm going with red now. I got that much red there. I guess I'm going with it. Acrylic paint can cover itself, so I might have actually been able to change that back. I don't know. The crab claw is fine. I think it's fine. I don't, like, love it, but as a colored thing, it's fine. I have no objection to the colors I picked for it. I mixed them okay. I don't love how they look. Then the tentacle the claw is attached to, I went for a purple, and it works out okay because I managed to blend, but I don't love it. Like I said, I don't love this piece at all. I was going for a white person's skin color on the forelegs, front legs, whatever you want to call them. I mean, because there are four F-O-U-R legs, and then you could call these the F-O-R-E forelegs. I don't know. And then I did like that magenta a lot, so I used it here for the thumb forefinger tentacle, but it was dark. It was really dark against the dark paper and didn't stick out very much, so I had to add some highlights to it. Then I went with pink again for the rest of the hand because pinks and purples, I wanted them to kind of meld with the other hand, the other arm, or whatever you want to call it. The peach color paint isn't very good. I don't know why, so I had to do that multiple times on the legs, and even when I used it on the crab claw, it was just kind of streaky. I wanted that color I have right there, that kind of greeny blue, was what I wanted the color of the fire to be, and I ended up making it just too green because I was trying to mix in as many, like, I was trying to mix colors. I didn't want it just to be straight that color, and I went with too many greens and not enough blues, and it just ends up very green, very bright green, and I don't like it. This whole thing ends up being a lot brighter than I wanted it to be because I don't know much about color theory. I'm mostly self-educated and I need to get more into color theory to figure out how I can dull things down when I'm using really bright pens like this. And I don't like that these back legs are also extraordinarily bright. Like, I love bright colors, don't get me wrong, I love neons and bright colors, but it wasn't the right vibe for this, and I ended up not really liking it. I was trying to put a little backlight on those eyeballs as well. So this is what I ended up with. There's not as much shading as I'd like there to be. The colors are not exactly what I want them to be. Some parts of it are kind of streaky. I'm not very happy with it, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm just glad I got something done.